Meldung aus dem Führerauftrag. Paris ist infolgedessen zur offenen Stadt erklärt worden.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Michel. My name is Michael. C'est moi, le petit garçon sur le tricycle. I'm the little boy on the tricycle. This is a Jewish neighborhood in Paris in the 1930s, just before World War II and the Nazi Holocaust. The children you see, Jewish kids like me, most of them never grew up. J'avais de la chance. I'm one of the lucky ones. That's me in the canoe, 50 years later, on the Allagash River in Maine. How did I survive? What happened to my parents? To the kids on this wall? To Jews all over Europe? Écoutez, ceci est mon histoire. This is my story. I was born Michel Klahr on May 16th, 1937 in Paris, France, in a neighborhood just like this one. I can't remember much about my parents. I didn't know them long enough. I know they came to France in 1928 from a town called Jolkiew in Poland. Life was hard there, and Paris was a big modern city full of freedom and opportunity for Jewish immigrants. Until the Nazis came. Rachela, that was my mother's name, Yiddish for Rachel. All I remember is that she was beautiful and proud and loved camembert cheese. And me. Nothing was too good for me. My father was Marcus Herz Klahr. People called him Herz, and he was in the fur business, my mother too, making Persian lamb coats and hats. Until the war came and no Jew could own a business, or rent a house, or go to school or anything. Years later, I found these old photographs. Me with my mother at a beach. Playing in a park in Paris. I don't remember those places. I remember her hair, my mother's thick black hair. I was 3 years old in the summer of 1940 when the German army invaded France. Horses and tanks and soldiers marching down the streets. It was like just being Jewish was against the law. You had to wear a black armband with a yellow Star of David. Juif, it said. Jew. It was hard to get food, no heat in the houses. People were scared. My parents must have heard the stories. Everybody did. Terrible stories about work camps and death camps and Nazis killing all the Jews. You would go to a shop or visit a friend, and the next day the shop was closed. The friend was gone. You never saw them again. Jews just disappeared in the night. Nobody knew where. One morning at dawn, we packed. Just a few bags. And without telling a soul we were leaving or where we were going, we boarded a train to Lyon, about 4 hours from Paris. We left everything behind. Furniture, silver, my toys, everything we owned. The Nazis took it all. The family must separate, my parents explained. It's safer that way. Father will look for work in a tiny town called Voiron. Mother will buy forged identity papers in Lyon. And I will hide in a farmhouse outside Grenoble, in the village of La Tronche. It was a rabbit farm. I lived in a dark little stall with the rabbits. I remember them hopping all around me. The rabbits made a lot of noise, but I had to be very quiet. Keep very still, my mother said. I couldn't laugh or cry or talk out loud. I couldn't make a sound, not even to sneeze. I had to hold my nose. It wasn't a game. It wasn't like hide and go seek. German soldiers were breaking down doors looking for Jews. And if they caught me hiding there, you would not be hearing this story. I remember soldiers coming into the house, right into the room near my hiding place. I couldn't see them, but I remember their boots. Loud, black boots stomping on the floor. That sound, the sound of boots, scared me for the rest of my life. My mother came to see me at the rabbit farm. I remember her last visit. I was holding on to her and laughing, and when she had to leave, I ran after her so hard I fell down. That was the last time I ever saw her. Ma mère. I was 6. My mother's brother, Uncle Leon, will tell you what happened.
Rachela, Michel's mother, was in Grenoble to visit him, and she sat down at a restaurant with a friend, a Jewish man. The Germans came in and demanded everyone's identity papers. Rachela had forged papers and spoke perfect French, so at first she survived the interrogation. But the Gestapo ordered her friend to stand up and take down his trousers. If he was circumcised, he was Jewish. The man was caught, of course, but the Nazis arrested them both, and they took Michel's mother away.
The last time I saw her, my mother told me that my father Hertz was coming soon to visit me. When? Soon, she said. And of course he never did, because
on his way to come to visit with me, he was in a cafe with a friend of his, buying food, which he probably would have brought to me because it was difficult to purchase food supplies in other than restaurants. And at that time, everyone was taken out of the cafe by a group of Germans and shot right there and then on the spot. There's a photograph of him after he was shot. Photographs were taken by people who lived above on the second and third floor, and they photographed various people being shot. This particular woman's husband himself was shot because he happened to have been in the restaurant. When she was going downstairs to retrieve her husband's body, my father was killed right next to him, and she took his billfold with the bullet hole in it. And I have it today. And in that billfold were many pictures of me, and the bullet went through most of the photographs.
My father was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he was Jewish. I lived with the rabbits as a hidden child from the winter of 1943 to the end of the war. In those 3 years, I had no friends, I never went to school, and both of my parents were murdered. I don't know how I survived or why, but I kept on surviving. I came by boat to America. 29 days on the ocean with hundreds of scared kids like me, all of us orphans now. Brooklyn, New York became my home. I made new friends and learned to speak English. Went to public school on the bus. Played stickball on the streets of Brooklyn. I got my first job at a custard stand on the boardwalk. Then worked in a supermarket to put myself through college, with time off to join the Marines. Like my father Hertz, I always had energy. I couldn't sit still. And I loved people. I loved the art of the deal, so I went into real estate and helped lots of people find their first homes. That's how I met Phyllis Jalbert, the love of my life. Here we are getting married. Phyllis brought me here to Maine. Remember, the man in the canoe? More than 1 million Jewish children died in the Holocaust. When I ask myself why I survived, I look at my children. I lived for them. Here I am, 50 years after losing my parents, after losing my childhood. Here I am holding my grandson and telling my story to you. That's what it means to survive.